My boss promoted a slacker instead of me. Then the last line of my resignation shocked him. My name is Daniel Hayes. I'm 45 years old, and for more than a decade, I worked as the principal solutions architect at Innovatech Solutions, one of the largest tech firms in Silicon Valley. For over 10 years, I quietly delivered results that saved the company millions of dollars. I was the one who solved the impossible problems, the guy behind the curtain, making sure everything worked. I was the backbone of some of Innovate's most successful projects. If you enjoy stories of cold revenge and shocking plot twists, subscribe now. You'll find 2 new unreleased stories here every day, each more gripping than the last. I've always been a builder, a problem solver. I cared about writing clean code, creating efficient systems, and driving innovation. What I never cared about was flattery, politics, or self-promotion. While my colleagues spent hours at happy hours and company mixers, I was in the lab, designing the next breakthrough. My colleagues respected me, but senior management? They barely noticed. At Innovate, appearances and networking seemed to matter more than actual results. I was the one who fixed the bugs that could have brought entire systems crashing down. I was the one who optimized algorithms to slash processing costs. But in executive meetings, I was never Daniel Hayes. I was just the team. Meanwhile, Lucas Reed, a colleague known more for his smooth talk than technical skill, was rising quickly. His flashy PowerPoint slides, packed with buzzwords but little real content, were celebrated as visionary. My carefully written reports, full of real solutions, barely got a glance. Something was off, and my instincts told me the favoritism ran deeper than simple office politics. Innovate was rewarding charisma over competence, and it was dragging the company down. The breaking point came one Thursday in March during the annual promotions meeting. My boss, Richard Thompson, well known for his political maneuvering, called the entire development team into the auditorium. "We're about to take a big step forward," he announced, smiling in that calculated way of his. "And I'm pleased to introduce our new Vice President of Development, someone who has not only shown technical ability, but, above all, the energy and leadership we need for the future." My heart pounded. After 3 years of waiting, I thought this was my moment. Lucas Reed. The room erupted in applause. For me, time stood still. The injustice burned like acid in my chest, but I kept my face calm and clapped along with everyone else, watching Lucas strut to the stage with that smug grin plastered on his face. Thompson praised his visionary leadership, while ignoring the decade of loyalty, innovation, and flawless execution I had given to the company. That moment changed everything. I wasn't angry. I was clear. Clear on the fact that Innovate would never reward me for my work. Clear that their obsession with appearances was blinding them to real talent. But what no one knew was that I had been working on something of my own. For 2 years, in my free time, I had been secretly developing a revolutionary platform, Ascend Performance, a project performance management system unlike anything on the market. It was exactly the kind of tool Innovate desperately needed to streamline its processes and maximize efficiency. I had pitched similar ideas before, but management always shut me down with the same line: "We don't have the budget for that right now, Daniel." The irony? While they rejected my solutions, they were paying outside consultants massive fees for pretty presentations and mediocre results. They wanted appearances. I was building substance. And soon, they were about to learn the difference that I knew I could do better, and I did. For 2 years, I poured my life into it. Late nights, weekends, even holidays, I sacrificed them all, building line by line what would become my masterpiece. The platform I created wasn't just software. It was a vision brought to life: predictive analysis, workflow automation, and intelligent dashboards that could identify bottlenecks before they even appeared. It was the kind of true innovation Innovate always claimed to want, but never invested in when it came from within. I was meticulous. Every record was organized, thousands of hours logged. All the source code was properly versioned, every technical document in place, and even preliminary patents filed under my name. Everything was legal, airtight, and beyond suspicion. Not a single line of Innovate's code was used. This was 100% mine, my work, my creation, my future. 3 months before the promotion meeting, I had already reached out quietly to Ascend Technologies, one of Innovate's direct competitors based in Austin, Texas. When I showed my platform to Jennifer Walsh, Ascend CEO, her reaction was immediate. Daniel, this is exactly what the market needs. We want to talk about acquisition and about a leadership role for you. The offer was everything Innovate had denied me. $2 million for the platform, equity in the company, and the position of Vice President of Innovation. I told her I needed time to think, but deep down, I already knew. I was just waiting for the right moment. And after my public humiliation at the promotion meeting, that moment had arrived. Lucas stepped into his new role as VP with all the pomp his oversized ego demanded. In his very first week, he held department meetings to share his strategic vision. The problem? Lucas had no vision at all. He was all style, no substance, repeating empty corporate buzzwords he had picked up in leadership seminars. We need to think outside the box. We need more synergy between departments. Our roadmap must be agile and customer-centric. I stayed quiet, but inside I was keeping score of every ridiculous word he spoke. When faced with real technical questions, Lucas had no answers. He deflected, or worse, shoved the responsibility onto people like me, the ones who actually understood the business. Thompson, meanwhile, was thrilled with his choice. To him, Lucas was the perfect protege, charismatic, well-spoken, and most importantly, submissive. Lucas would never challenge his authority or disrupt the status quo. He was exactly the kind of puppet Thompson wanted. While they played their games, I was preparing for my exit. I gathered my files, moved my side projects onto private devices, and carefully documented the critical knowledge only I possessed at Innovate. Not out of malice, but out of professionalism. I knew my departure would cause shockwaves, but at least the essentials would remain. And as I worked in silence, I watched Lucas slowly unravel. He approved code changes without understanding the consequences, leading to bugs that took days to fix. He canceled crucial technical meetings just to attend flashy networking events. Worst of all, he shamelessly took credit for the work of others, claiming to be the mastermind behind solutions he barely understood. The breaking point came when Lucas called me into his new office. He leaned back in his chair, smirked, and said, "Daniel, I need you to prepare a detailed report on all your projects." Lucas leaned back in his chair and said, "Daniel, I want to better understand what you do here." After 10 years of being the company's go-to crisis solver, he suddenly wanted to understand my role. The irony was so absurd, I almost laughed in his face. But instead, I stayed calm. "Of course, Lucas," I replied evenly. "I'll prepare everything for you." And I did. I prepared everything, including my resignation letter. I wrote that letter with the same precision I gave to every line of code. Every word was deliberate, every sentence carefully structured to remain professional while carrying a message only the right people would fully grasp. It began conventionally, thanking them for the years of experience and opportunities. I listed notable projects, using technical language that subtly highlighted just how deep my knowledge ran. Then I explained that it was time for me to seek new challenges, and that my decision was final. But it was the last line that delivered the real blow. I sincerely hope Innovate thrives under its new leadership. As for my proprietary platform, Ascend Performance, it will officially launch with Ascend Technologies next week, where I will assume the role of Vice President of Innovation. That Monday morning, I walked into Thompson's office, calm and confident, and placed the envelope on his polished mahogany desk. "What is this, Daniel?" he asked, still unsuspecting. "My resignation letter, Mr. Thompson. My last day will be Friday." I watched his expression shift as he read. First surprise, then confusion. But when his eyes reached the final line, his face froze. He reread it 3 times before finally looking up. "Daniel, what exactly does this mean about a proprietary platform?" "It means," I said evenly, "that for the past 2 years, I've been developing a revolutionary performance management solution in my spare time. Ascend Technologies has just acquired it for a considerable sum. It's the kind of platform that could have been built here, if Innovate had ever shown real interest in innovation." The color drained from his face. Thompson didn't need an explanation. He immediately grasped the catastrophic implications. Not only was he losing his lead developer, but that developer was handing a disruptive innovation directly to a competitor. Daniel, we need to talk about this. Please sit down. There's nothing to discuss, Mr. Thompson, I replied calmly. Everything was done within the strictest legality. I used my personal time, my own resources, and never touched Innovate's intellectual property. My lawyers have already reviewed all documentation. He tried to maintain composure, but I could see panic flicker in his eyes. He knew exactly how much critical knowledge I carried and how dependent so many projects were on me. Later that afternoon, Lucas stormed into my office, his expression a mix of confusion and fear. Daniel, man, what's going on? Thompson told me you're leaving for the competition. That's right, Lucas. I'm leaving, but you can't do this. The company needs you. I need you. I'm still adjusting to this role. You should have thought about that earlier. I cut him off, still calm. You took a technical leadership position without the technical competence to back it up. That's your problem, not mine. He scrambled, trying to negotiate. He promised changes, partnerships, even suggested we could fix this together. But I was already gone in my mind. My focus was on the future I had built with my own hands. Over the next few days, things unraveled quickly. Thompson called my personal phone again and again. At first, he tried to negotiate, offering me the promotion I'd always wanted, doubling my salary, even promising total autonomy to implement my ideas. But it was far too late that he even suggested reassigning Lucas to another department. Daniel, this is a mistake. You're part of the Innovate family. We can fix this, Thompson pleaded. My response never changed, just polite silence followed by. My decision is final, Mr. Thompson. When reconciliation failed, the threats started. The company's legal department sent me an email hinting at lawsuits for theft of intellectual property and violation of non-compete clauses. It was a desperate attempt at intimidation, but I was prepared. My lawyers at Ascend Technologies immediately fired back with airtight documentation. Every line of code, every patent filing, every resource had been developed independently with my own time and money. There was no violation, no breach, nothing they could hold against me. Within days, Innovate backed down. Their bluff had collapsed. Meanwhile, I sat back and watched as the chaos unfolded. Without me there to hold the systems together, small cracks quickly grew into major failures. Elegant solutions I had built began to falter. Projects that relied on my specialized knowledge froze in technical paralysis. Lucas was drowning. He stayed late nights, staring helplessly at code he couldn't even begin to understand. His frustration was obvious, and his incompetence could no longer be hidden. The team saw it. Everyone saw it. The breaking point came on Thursday, my second-to-last day. A critical bug threatened to bring down the company's main production system in the middle of business hours. It was the kind of emergency I used to fix in minutes. Lucas rushed to my desk, eyes wide with panic. Daniel, please, just this once. Help us fix this, and then you can go. I looked at him calmly, the same way I had all week. Lucas, you're the vice president of development now. This is your responsibility. Then I stood up, picked up my personalized coffee mug, and walked out of the building, leaving them to deal with the consequences of their own choices. That following Monday, I was in Austin, signing my contract with Ascend Technologies. At the same moment, Ascend Performance officially launched. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. TechCrunch called it the performance management revolution. Forbes named me the visionary redefining corporate efficiency. Jennifer Walsh, Ascend CEO, personally welcomed me on my first day. Daniel, you didn't just bring revolutionary technology, you brought a new way of valuing real talent. We're honored to have you as our Vice President of Innovation. For the first time in years, I was surrounded by a team that matched my passion. 15 senior developers, 3 machine learning experts, and 2 UX/UI designers, all handpicked for excellence. Together, we thrived. Meanwhile, Innovate was collapsing. The bug I had refused to fix took 72 hours to resolve, costing the company nearly $500,000 in downtime and client compensation. Lucas tried to outsource the problems to consultants who charged $500 to $1,000 an hour, but even they could only deliver clumsy, temporary fixes to issues I once solved in minutes. 3 weeks later, I got a call from Marcus Chun, a friend who still worked there. "Daniel, you won't believe it. Lucas had a nervous breakdown in front of a client. The whole system failed, and he couldn't explain a thing. Thompson's panicking. The irony was delicious. A company that chose charisma over competence was now reaping the consequences of its own choices. But the real blow came naturally. Ascend Performance began attracting Innovate's clients. Microsoft, Google, Tesla all migrated to our platform in weeks. Each loss was worth millions in contracts. The best part wasn't the money, it was validation. I had built something superior, and the market recognized it. Wired published a brutal comparison. Where Innovate fails, Ascend Performance shines. It's like comparing a modern smartphone to a rotary dial phone. Desperate, Thompson made one last attempt. He called me personally. His voice shook. "Daniel, we can work together. Innovate can license your technology." "You could be our strategic consultant." I answered as calmly as ever. "Mr. Thompson, Innovate had 10 years to value me. Now it's too late." 6 months later, the Wall Street Journal reported Thompson's retirement to pursue new personal challenges. The truth? He'd been forced out by the board. His reputation as a visionary was in ruins. Lucas was quietly demoted to a junior role, tucked away where his incompetence would cause less damage. And Innovate itself? Acquired by a private equity firm for a fraction of what it was once worth. It was exactly the ending their arrogance had written for them. At Ascend, we built something different. I created a culture where only results mattered. Not politics, not charm, not titles. It didn't matter if someone was an introvert or an extrovert, Ivy League or self-taught. What mattered was elegant code, smart solutions, and real value. My team thrived. Within a year, we developed 3 disruptive technologies, all patented and licensed to major corporations. I mentored young developers who had been overlooked elsewhere because they didn't fit the leadership profile. Here, they flourished. Years later, at a conference in San Francisco, I ran into Lucas. He looked embarrassed, still carrying the weight of his failure. "Daniel," he said quietly, "congratulations on all your success. You were always brilliant." "Thank you, Lucas," I replied genuinely. "I hope you found a place where your skills are better appreciated." There was no bitterness. There didn't need to be. My revenge had never been about anger. It was about proving elegantly and relentlessly that real competence outlasts politics, true innovation outshines empty charm, and genuine value always finds recognition, even if not where we first expect it. Today, 5 years later, Ascend Technologies is one of the fastest growing tech companies in the U.S. Our valuation has skyrocketed from $200 million to $3 billion. I have financial freedom beyond anything I ever imagined. But more importantly, I've built a legacy, one founded on excellence and meritocracy. And I learned the greatest truth of all. The best revenge isn't destroying your enemies. It's building a success so undeniable that they're forced to acknowledge your worth, even if it's far too late for them to benefit from it. If you enjoyed this story, give it a like, share it, and leave a comment with your thoughts. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next story. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.